politics to technology. And that's what we do here on Newspunch, from the beginning to the end. And that is why we are there. Keep watching Newspunch from Ben Television. And today, I'll be your host. From politics.
Thank you for joining us on the program, and the program is Newspunch, coming to you live from Benin Television. My name is Tunde Alabi. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the show today. On the program today, we are in Nigeria, where we'll be taking a look at what we've been discussing in the last couple of weeks about the agitation for restructuring Nigeria. It's no longer news that different regions, sections in Nigeria, different people have added their voices to the clamor for Nigeria to be restructured. On the program today, I'm joined by two men who are Nigerians but British, and I've had in-depth look at the structure of Nigeria. One is a solicitor and the other is a political analyst and a former member of the Metropolitan Police here in the United Kingdom. And also we'll be taking a look at the provision of the constitutions of the Federal Republic of Nigeria regarding the absence of the president. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, General President Muhammadu Buhari, has been out of the country now for a number of days. He's not been heard, he's not been seen by anybody. He was visited in London just last night on Wednesday. On Tuesday night stroke this Wednesday morning, the 12th of July, by the acting Vice President Oshibajo, on arriving in Nigeria on Wednesday morning, 12th of July, for the Federal Reserve Council meeting, and asked by journalists, he said he will not be disclosing his discussion, interaction with the president when he visited him in Nigeria for just less than 6 hours or probably 12 hours. But is it appropriate for the president of a nation to be out of the country without the people, without the citizens knowing where the president is, what is wrong with the president, without any information given to the people that he is supposed to govern or exercise democratic rule over, not having adequate information about his state of health, about where he is, about what he's going through, bearing in mind that his trip, including his medication or medical treatment abroad, he is under public taxpayers' money, yet they are being denied information on demand. And these are issues we're taking a look at on the program today. I'm joined by Kingsley Oyeminim. Kingsley Oyeminim Esquire is a solicitor and a barrister here in the United Kingdom, also practicing in Nigeria as well. Kingsley, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you.
And also joined by Alexander Kuye. Alexander Kuye is a political and security expert, a former Metropolitan Police officer. Alexander, thank you for joining us on the program today. Kingsley, let me start with you. First, let's start with the issue of the president's absence. On Tuesday, the 11th of July, the acting vice president left the shore of Nigeria, flew down to London to see the president. And on Wednesday morning, he landed in Nigeria. So less than 12 hours, basically, was in Nigeria. Quick in, quick out.
Yes.
And on arriving in Nigeria, he was asked by reporters, by journalists, what did you discuss with Mr. President? He said he would not be disclosing to anybody his discussion with Mr. President. Kingsley, as a lawyer, as a barrister, as a solicitor, on one side, and as a Nigerian living in an advanced country like you have got in the United Kingdom, first, on a social level, is it appropriate for the president, for any public official, to be out of the country on a medical vacation on taxpayers' back, and still the taxpayers are being denied the purpose of his visits and the reasons for his visit? Will it be appropriate socially now?
I think when we say a public figure, if we can probably sort of just stick to the president.
The office of the president. Okay.
I mean, the office of the president, he's the first citizen of Nigeria.
Yeah.
He is beyond a public figure. Okay, so his actions, his words, does not belong to him alone, but it belongs to every citizen of Nigeria who has a right to know whether he's coming in or he's going out. Okay, as far as it doesn't touch on the issues of security, as it were, his security, to be precise, but I think there is need for the country. I mean, it's not the first time he's left the shores of Nigeria. This is probably the second trip, if I'm correct. The vice president has a duty to all Nigerians, to me as a citizen, to tell me exactly how my president is faring. And I think every Nigerian has a right to know. Because as we are presently, nobody's aware whether our president is alive or whether he's dead or how he's faring health-wise. I mean, there were rumors about 2 weeks ago that he's passed on. Those are rumors. But it sort of just leaves individuals with their own thinking as to what may have happened to him. But I think there's a duty that they should disclose the health situation of the president.
Okay, all right. In terms of constitutional provision, does he hold any Nigerian any legal obligation to disclose to the Nigerian public his state of health, the nature of his sickness?
I think there is an obligation under the Constitution for him to do so. There is an obligation because clearly, in terms of absence, there are a number set of days that he can be out of the country for. Now, if it's a health issue, he's the commander-in-chief, isn't he? So it's important that at least the nation is made aware, the Senate is made aware as to what and where and how the president is faring on each occasion. So yes, there is a legal duty.
Alexander, as a Nigerian, as a British citizens, you live in this country, you've worked in this country, you've seen it at some top level in this country. What would be your thoughts about the absence of the president of Nigeria from office in the United Kingdom, not seen, not heard, no report about the state of health?
I think it's really a sad day, sad month, and probably even a sad year for Nigerians, because as president of Nigeria, your role, your ultimate role, is to look after the people of Nigeria. They put you in office, and also they understand that if you are sick, that they want to know why you're sick, and even if it's prayers, it means a lot, especially to the Nigerian community. The president, and I believe the president or the presidency, hasn't done enough to communicate with members of the public in Nigeria to say, hey, I'm not feeling well, this is what's wrong with me. Because the problem is that there's a bigger and wider picture here. If the president's ill, or there's somewhat no stability within government house, there's a possibility that it could affect things like the market, it could affect what's going on currently in the National Assembly, where people are just spreading rumours, and it can affect the whole country as a whole. And I say this, that you need to know from the president what's going on. Are you okay? When are you coming back to Nigeria? And when are we going to have stability? Because the stability is not there at the moment. Bear in mind, Yemi Osibanjo, the Vice President of Nigeria, is doing a good job at this moment in time. But the fact is that he was elected to run Nigeria, and people have to know where he is, what he's doing. If he's ill, let us know. There's nothing in the Constitution that says if he's ill, he has to leave office. But let us know, because if you don't tell anybody where you are, things are going to happen. And Nigeria is already a volatile country already, and not knowing where the president is could just make things even worse.
How long do you think Nigeria can stand this continued silence about the absence of Mr. President and his state of health?
I think the crucial question is whether, Tunde, whether the president is fit for office at this present time.
What will the law consider as being fit for office?
Well, if he's not fit to perform his duties as elected president, then clearly there's need for him to step down. There's need probably for the Senate to take steps to remove him. and have the acting president, take his place. But if he's unable as a result of his health, and this is the problem because we haven't been told what exactly, because I know the first trip that he came to London for was the fact they said he had an ear problem.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, not sure whether he's actually come back to London again on the same issue of the ear problem, whether it's something bigger than that. But because of the way that, informations have been trickling out, as opposed to us being told what the true nature of his illness is, it sort of just leaves room for speculation. I think if it's something that is minor, then we would have been told. But it's, as it seems, I think it's something that is probably quite major that is wrong with him. But I believe it's important, and the Constitution obviously says that he should let Nigerians know what exactly is wrong with him and whether, in fact, he's fit for the office of the presidency. And if he's not, he does obviously need to take the honorable step and relinquish office.
Alison, how much damage do you think this can continue to do to the Nigerian public, to public institutions in Nigeria? His absence, the president's absence.
I don't want to make it out to be doom and gloom, but it could end up being doom and gloom. And I think that exactly if we look back, when Yar'Adua died in office, so he passed away in office, the same issue happened. There was a bit of instability until Goodluck Jonathan took over. But this one is totally different. We don't know if the president's sick or well. We hear he's sick, we hear he's well, or he's coming back. And again, it just puts everybody on edge because people don't know what's going on. Now, my issue is that the presidency has one of the best medical staff in government house. I find it quite baffling that none of the state-of-the-art doctors in Nigeria can't treat the president for whatever we have. We don't know what he has. But the issue is for him to be in London for more than 10 to 15 or even 20 days, that suggests to me that it's serious. But then we need to look at it and find, can't no one look after him in Nigeria? I just do not understand. And people want to know, and we have the right to know, and I'm very sure that in the next coming days, I'm sure we'll know what the hell's going on, because a lot of people are not happy about this.
Talking about people not being happy about it, are there things Nigerians can do to force out information about the president?
Historically, if the president doesn't want to say anything, you're not going to get anything. But I think with this presidency, in some aspects, they're quite open. But with this illness, I really do believe that they've been very cagey about this. And this could potentially affect the presidency. Because the fact is that at the end of the day, they've not really said anything about what's going on with the president. But what needs to happen is media organisations in Nigeria need to hold the office of presidency to account and ask what the hell is going on. Everybody, every single person, whether you voted for him or not, has the right to know how their president is bearing up. And unfortunately, I do believe that a lot of the media organisations in Nigeria are doing so. But the presidency needs to come out, because this could end up being a very big blowout. And I don't want to see that happen.
I mean, this will call for very serious concern. Will this ever happen in any country that is considered advanced, where the number one citizen will be away for 63 days? This is about the 63rd day now. And nobody seems to know anything about the state of the number one citizen. The people at the international community in advance in America, UK, what would be, is it kind of pity, or would they be looking at Nigeria with pity or with ignorance? Say, what would be their reactions?
I think to your first question, the answer is no. In the advanced countries, let's take Britain for example. If the Prime Minister for any reason goes into hospital tomorrow, it's on the news. They will tell you.
Including the nature of the
they
sickness,
will tell you
why she
exactly and how they're doing. Okay, so we know very clearly
you actually
that
see camera and the reporters mounting stations at the front of the hospital.
They would be. So it's in the Western world, civilized nations, you would find that they would always give you a report a daily report as to how.
Doesn't matter
It doesn't matter the nature of it. Okay. Now, I think what has been said here is that there is need for Nigerians to be told, because whether we like it or not, at the end of the day, we will know what it is.
But what?
And I
will
pray,
know if they want Nigerians to know.
Well, look, I pray that
63 years
I
now,
pray that the
he's
president.
been gone for the first.
I pray that the
time.
president survives and he makes it out of
That's
this.
our prayer.
Okay, but I mean, all we can do. I mean, I think many of us, it's you sort of read newspaper articles that tells you, oh, he's dead or he's not going to make it. So people have been left with their own
assumptions,
inferences and
speculations.
assumptions. Okay, now that is not good for a nation, a big country like Nigeria. First of all, investors would have shaky feet. Those who are there probably thinking, well, you know what? We're not sure what's going to happen to Nigeria tomorrow. We're not sure whether in fact, the acting president, who is in a very good job, will still be able to carry on acting as a president if something happens to the president presently. So investors will be looking at a way out. Now, how does that impact on the economy? It will impact negatively. The stock exchange will suffer. It is not a good thing. And it doesn't make sense. Where we are presently, Nigeria is not the strongest of nations in Africa as it is. So this is doing more damage to our economy as opposed to being positive.
Why would the president's state of health be shrouded in secrecy?
It baffles me. I mean, for those, from what I read, for those who feel that they have something to gain from it, okay. I mean, you've had situations where they've said letters have been written from London here by the president, and it's been taken to the House of Senate, apparently from the president. Okay, and the question has been asked: are you sure this has come from the presidency? Are you sure that it's the president that actually signed this document? Do you understand? I think recently there was the message that was sent to Nigerians in
audio.
The audio that was sent.
Greetings in Hausa language.
Exactly.
And where people have said probably the president's voice had been cloned.
Exactly. So there were secrecy around this whole thing, and it should not be that way.
Alexander, if you were to invest, I'm sorry for that. Conclude.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if the president actually was the person who sent that message, why couldn't have him be videoed? He's the president, for God's sake. Why couldn't have been videoed? Why audio message? It's very unusual, and it's very questionable.
Why not on videotape?
Exactly.
Alexander, as a former Metropolitan Police officer, if you were to investigate this, the secret behind why is Nigeria's president's illness abroad being shrouded in secrecy, where will you start from?
Really?
What will you be looking at?
Okay. I think one thing I personally will be looking at is understanding where he is first, what hospital he is, and who I can speak to within that hospital. That's what I would do. But I really do feel that...
Is it likely to be in a public managed hospital?
No,
NHS hospital?
He'll probably be in a private hospital, especially for the presidency. Someone like him will be in a private hospital, and obviously it will be paid for with taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
And my issue is, and I think he had there's budget allocated for him for his welfare to be looked after in any hospital of his choice. But like I said earlier, he has a perfectly good hospital wing in the presidential villa for him to be looked after. So it goes back to the point of what I'm saying is that how we live in 2017 where our president has gone AWOL. And the fact is that Yemi Osinbajo, like I said, he's doing a good job. He's not. There hasn't been any problem. But the issue is that it's unfair on himself having to bat media, politicians, the National Assembly, having to say, oh, he's coming soon, he's coming soon, he's coming soon. Because what's happening now, and you've probably seen it in articles in Nigerian papers where people are saying, oh, Yemi Osinbajo might have to leave, might have to go. We're thinking of replacing him. That is not what you need. Currently, our economy is very fragile. We're just creeping back from a recession. And then when having this, the fact is, if the president is watching or his advisors are watching, I would say, send out a clear, coherent message to the Nigerian people. What is wrong with you? We are praying for you. There is at least if you let us know, at least the markets will be stable, the National Assembly will be stable, and the country as a whole will be stable as well.
Be good for Nigeria. Some have actually accused cabal behind this. In fact, the wife of the president tweeted a couple of days ago
Yes.
that her husband will soon be coming back, and the jackals and the rest of the other animals in the
Yes.
in the kingdom will have to disappear.
Exactly.
That sounds very
Exactly. It's and
Signal.
that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying initially. Today, there is an internal battle presently.
for is internal battle for the soul of Nigeria or for the soul of the president.
I think it's for those who have their own benefit, who have their
Selfish
own genuine
interest.
selfish benefit, not necessarily for Nigerians. Because I think if the interest is for Nigeria, all Nigerians had, then we don't see what we can't understand. I can't understand why those who the cabals that are being referred to here.
Even by the wife of the
Yes,
president.
exactly.
Just this week. Two things
And
happened this week.
it's not the first time, Tunde. Don't forget the first time that the president was out of the country, we had a similar issue that happened. So it is an internal battle. And I think that...
And it seems the wife doesn't have much of a control.
Oh, not
No,
at
she
all.
doesn't.
Not
I mean,
at all.
from what I did read, and I'm not sure whether this is correct or not, but I was told that when she came to visit, she wasn't allowed to see him.
And that's embarrassing.
Okay, and this is the wife of the president. So if that is the case, Tunde, it begs the question, where are we headed to? I mean, this is it's very disappointing and it's very disgraceful, you know, that a country as big as that, without experiences, okay, we shouldn't be doing this. And I think that the powers to be, those in the Senate need to actually take steps. Because I think maybe it's the fact that people are afraid to take steps. But maybe they should take steps.
Talking about taking steps, Nigerians are even divided about the whole thing. You hear if we open the phone line now, you'll see these divisions. Let's open the phone line. Let's give our viewers the opportunity at home, if they're watching, to also contribute. You see the division.
Yeah.
Nigerians are even themselves will say, after all, he's a president. He's entitled to his. It's natural for a president, for a man to be sick. We should leave him alone. And some will say, no, he's traveled on a public fund, on the taxpayers' money. He should give the taxpayers what they are spending their money on.
Correct.
So kind of division Nigeria is.
Correct.
And then it becomes very difficult for a decision, coherent decisions to be taken. How much of this division is affecting a coherent decision, even at the National Assembly?
I think one of the big problems at the current moment is around, I think people are talking about restructuring at the moment. That's one of the big issues affecting Nigeria. And the problem is you don't have a presidency to oversee or for someone to hold account. You got the National Assembly, and this is exactly what's happening. You have people in the National Assembly who are saying, well, the president's not here. Well, let's start to do what we want to do. You're having people coming out saying, oh, we want to restructure. What the hell is restructuring? What do you plan to restructure? You have some senators who have decided to go AWOL. You have some people in the National Assembly who basically are coming out in the media and saying things they wouldn't normally say. And these are people within the political party of the presidency who are saying things that is not favourable to the office of presidency. And this is what I'm trying to say, that him disappearing, going AWOL, you know, I have 28 days annual leave a year. He has had over 60, so he's enjoying himself. But the fact is that he needs to look at himself and say, actually, Nigeria needs me. People, especially in the National Assembly and politicians, are doing things that they wouldn't normally do when I'm there. And we need to have some clear, coherent message from
What would have imagined? What would have prompted this less than 12 hours visit of the acting vice president to the president? 12 hours. Left Nigeria on the 11th of July in the evening, came to London overnight, and by morning of the 12th of July, back in Nigeria again.
Well, put it this way, Tunde. The acting president of Obasanjo has a duty to perform in the absence of our president.
Will that include traveling to the UK to see the president?
Yes,
and back to Nigeria under 12 hours?
I think yes. I think a 2 days visit, 3 days visit is fine. I think 12 hours visit is still okay, Tunde.
And you'll still be able to. Would you? Well, private jet is the comfort of private jet.
Maybe he just wanted to come down to see the president to make sure he's okay, and then he's gone back to his normal business of running Nigeria, and he is doing a very good job of it. Definitely. He is. I mean, since actually he's taken that position, he has a lot of things have been done.
He himself has come under criticism that he doesn't have power.
Look, Yes, that has always happened. But if you, the question is from what quarters are those
And
questions
that his
coming
job
from?
is not even guaranteed. Should anything happen to Mr. President?
I mean, if you remember before Buhari, before our president came to London, there was the issue as to whether he should actually be
Coordinating.
announced as the acting president.
Or national or, government coordinator.
Exactly. So it still boils down to those individuals who do not want that position occupied by anyone else but the present president, who obviously want him to act in a very different capacity. But you know, that should be the wrong capacity. If the president is not available, then there's really nothing wrong for the vice president to take the position of the acting president. In the meantime, okay, it's about the complete welfare of Nigeria and about the people of Nigeria. It's not about the individual and personal interest.
If you're watching this program, you're allowed to be part of the program, and the number to call is put on the screen. Let's have your opinion. Once you call in, turn down the volume of your TV set, turn down the volume of your TV set, or you mute your TV set. Just talk straight to your phone, and we'll be able to hear you, and you can also hear us on the program. I think I do have a caller waiting for me. Good evening, if I have a call there. Do I have a call waiting there? Good evening. All right, I don't think we're able to get that call through. The number to call is on the screen. You can call it. Kingsley, as Nigeria stands, it seems to be a divided nation. Some are calling for, they say they want to go their different way, the Biafra agitation.
Yes.
Some people in the northern part of Nigeria are giving them ultimatum to leave the country. Some people in the southwest are very unsure of what the situation is.
Yes.
How long do you think Nigeria can stay together under the current system and situation?
I don't think it's going to be for long, Tunde. What I have here is this is the Confab report.
Yeah, the national
Confab report. This report was obviously came out. They had it in 2014. It's a complete report, and it was put together by Nigerians, not just a few individuals, but you had people who had interest at heart about Nigeria. They came together and they put a report together.
That's the last one organized by the former president.
Yes, Jonathan. Yes, and
but mind you, there have been previous reports.
They have been
still
exactly.
untouched.
There have been previous reports today, but this report is quite comprehensive, and the issue with this, I mean, the last president didn't obviously have the time to have it implemented or call for a referendum on what should be done about it. But many have said, and I'm one of those who believe quite clearly, that the content of the report should be looked at. Our president, when he came into power, said, well, look, I'm not even going to bother looking at it or reading it. But this is probably where some of the agitations have come up from. But although it wasn't the background before, and we know about the Niger Delta individuals, we know about the issue of Biafra, but agitation has always been there. But I just think that if the present government can look at the content of the Confab reports and try and implement what suggestions in there has been made, I think Nigeria will go a long way in terms of actually moving forward as a nation together. But for what we have presently on the ground, Tunde, it's not very long. I've got to be very sincere with you.
For Nigeria to stay together.
It's not very long.
Okay, all right. We will come back to have a look at a few points, including some of the recommendations included creation of states, additional states. They cited the issue of Kano and Lagos states having on the same status initially. All of a sudden, Kano had been divided, and Lagos still being what it is at the moment. So the Confab report had rejected regional structure and advised that the status quo should be maintained. That's the issue of state, and then advised for more state creation. We'll come back to look at that report. Let's go to a short break. We'll be back. All right, you're welcome back, and the program is still Newspunch, coming to you live from North London studio here in London, and the program is looking at Nigeria. How long more can this country continue to endure what it is going through at the moment, the absence of the president in the country and its impact on Nigeria as a nation, the issue of destruction and regional agitation, and that is what we've been taking a look at. That's what my guests have been talking about on the program today. My guests here, by my immediate right, Alexander Kuye, political and security analyst and a former Metropolitan Police officer, and Kingsley Oyeminem, a barrister and a solicitor practicing here in London and also in Nigeria, qualified, including America, elsewhere qualified at both ends. Guys, thank you for being part of the program. Kingsley, let me come to you again. This report, in your own assessment, you think is a solution to Nigeria's problem?
I think
somewhere.
I think it goes a long way to deal with the unfairness in the distribution of wealth, the distribution of Nigerian resources as it relates to the northern, the west, south and east of Nigeria. You did mention something about Lagos the other time and how obviously, if you look at the northern states almost take, they have almost, well, not almost, but half the resources of what Nigeria makes in, every year. Do you understand? In terms of population-wise, the northern states are not greater than you have those from the Yoruba land, as it were. But
from the south,
from the
put
south,
it that way.
Okay, from the south. So the question then is, why would you have
more resources going to the north? But some will argue that the people in the south have got more resources going to them, including 13% derivation.
From what, Tunde?
From oil.
Yes, but when you're talking about 13%, okay, if you look at it as a whole, Tunde, it's an unfair division, a very unfair division for a part of Nigeria.
Okay, before we take this call, I can hear a call coming in. Alexander, your opinion. You think the last confab report is a solution to Nigeria's unfairness?
To be honest, I'm quite blunt with the confab report. I don't believe it's worth the paper it's written on. And with due respect,
you've gone through some of it.
Yes, I have gone through some of it. Nigeria already have current issues already. And by making a report stating that you're going to create additional 18 states, 18 states are not going to bring unity to Nigeria. We're not unified already. Currently, 27 of our 36 states are currently literally in bankruptcy, and we want to add another 18 states. It doesn't make sense. And this goes back to the point I talk about when it comes to Nigeria, is that we have all these conferences, but we actually don't talk about substance. The substance I would have loved to see is about having more devolution, which it was discussed in that report, having a devolution to states. If, for instance, in Lagos State, most of the roads there are federal roads. Some of them have not even been touched since our colonial masters left it probably in 1960 and we hand over power. These are the problems that face us. And I have to agree to somewhat with the current government where it says, I've got other, Buhari said, and I believe Yemi Osinbajo said that we've got other priorities at the moment than looking at a confab report. For me, I feel that this report is purely political. It has nothing to do with actually helping everyday Nigerians. And unfortunately, it's sad that in 2014, this report, people took out their time. Some people were well known, contributed towards this report. But for me, it's like, there was more on having state police. Well, our police service in Nigeria is nothing to be spoken about. But we are happy to have state police. If we can't fix our current problems, why are we creating more problems for our country? It's all about what you can get. I genuinely believe the creation of 18 more states is about what you can get. Some might feel that, we're not having equal opportunities to have what we call the piece of the government cake. But the fact is, I don't believe in that. We have problems already. Having an additional 18 states is simply...
In your opinion, what is the way forward?
For me, the way forward for Nigeria is sorting out the problems.
What problem?
The electricity, youth unemployment, a lot of young people unemployment, a lot of parents who send their kids to school at the age of 35, they're still unemployed. We're not sort of talking about that. The fact is that by giving or making policies that actually empowers young people to do well in Nigeria is the way forward. We need to create jobs. the Confab report doesn't talk about creating jobs for our young people. It's purely political. And that's what upsets me the most as a young person and a Nigerian, is that the fact is that the people that wrote those reports were the usual suspects. When I say the usual suspects, previous people in power. So example, we had Confab reports under Sani Abacha, we had one with Olusegun Obasanjo, we had one obviously with Goodluck Jonathan. What has come of it? And I just don't agree with the excuse that because Goodluck Jonathan didn't have time to implement it, there was never going to be a referendum in the first place. This is purely cosmetic.
Cosmetic?
I don't think it is, Tunde.
Okay, but we've had, according to we've had confab reports.
We have to.
In the past.
We have.
Why another confab? Why did Jonathan not look at the two previous confab reports, merge them together, synthesize, look at area of differences and similarity, and then put up a committee to agree on something rather than wasting billions of naira on another confab report?
The question you've got to ask ourselves is, I think we've discussed this previously on this show. We have a federal system of government that doesn't work as a federal system of government. We have a system that literally, it's the other way around, is upside down today. You have a situation where...
But I'm sure the previous confab would have touched on some of those problems.
The question then is, why wasn't the previous one implemented?
So why did the government, why did Jonathan now decide to put up another confab where each member of the confab was earning 12 million naira at the time? 12 million naira.
The issue, I don't think that there was a question as to why those individuals who attended the confab report had to be paid what they were paid. They were doing a national job. Yeah. Okay. That, you understand? And the idea is to assist Nigeria to move forward. And look, let's look at the point that he's made. He's saying he thinks it's cosmetic. Nigeria has been trying to move forward from where we are presently, where we are today. No difference has been made today. Youth are still unemployed. You'd have, let's say, Nigerian law school, probably maybe in a year might shun at about 3,000 students from Nigerian law school. You might have maybe 200, 300 who will be employed at the end of the day. The rest, they disappear into the system. They're unemployed today. The system that we have presently doesn't work because why? It favors a particular set of people, a particular set of state. That's what's happened with the country called Nigeria. Now, we have to look at something different. And I think if the first confab report wasn't looked at, the second wasn't looked at, there's nothing wrong with the third confab report being looked at.
But the government has said it's not even, it's
I
not
understand
having the time.
But then we talked about...
But would that be reasonable?
Of course it's not reasonable, Tunde. There's need for us to look at an alternative. Because as it stands so far, what we have and the system that we have in place does not work and has not worked, Tunde. And I don't think anybody can actually run an argument that it would work if certain things are done.
Can I want to touch upon what he says. Again, the confab report, the people who contributed towards this report, Atiku Abubakar, who was the vice president for Obasanjo, what was he doing in the years where they were in power? What took them so long that they couldn't restructure Nigeria? When someone also was involved in it, Babangida was also involved in writing this 2014 confab report. What was he doing? The fact is that all these same, as I call them, old soldiers come or should I go, they contributed towards this report, but they played a part in the issues of which Nigeria are suffering today.
But should that be enough reasons not to consider their thoughts and opinion?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Sorry to interrupt you. We've looked at the Niger Delta agitation. We've looked at how long it's been going on for. Under the former president, before his time, it has been going on today. It's getting worse. Okay? Now, common sense would call for those who were in power to sit down and say, okay, fine, look, this is where we get oil from in Nigeria. Why is this state in the way it is?
Should that question be asked at the state level or
it should be asked at the national level? Because
it should be
because the resources from that state.
But this state gets federal allocation. But this state gets special allocation from the president in terms of derivation. These states also still share part of the money, special money from federal allocation.
We should not lose sight of the bigger picture. The bigger picture is what is wrong with Nigeria as a state, as a nation, as it is. And what is wrong with Nigeria trickles down to what then becomes wrong with the states. Yes, I'm also saying that the fact that the state governors have not, to a greater extent, carried out their duties. They haven't done that.
But we want to give them more power.
But it hasn't done that. No. You see, it's about accountability because everybody at present looks at the federal government. Okay. Yeah. If you practice a true federalism, okay, things would change. Individual citizens
It's going
would
to be
look.
bottom-up approach.
That's
So
what
it comes
is.
from local government to the
Presently-
state government and down
presently,
to the federal government.
everything that is made from a particular state is sent to the federal government account. And then the federal government pays a particular percentage to the individual states. Okay? It doesn't work today. We've tried it for how many years now down the line? We need to look at something very different. And I think if we try the alternative.
Alexander, do you agree that Nigeria, in terms of structure, we do need to look at the structure of Nigeria as the current structure is defective? Do you agree with that?
You know, with all due respect, the current structure in Nigeria is defective. The 1999 amended constitution needs to go.
Yes.
We're in 2017, and in 2017, for a president to have a cabinet, he has to have 36 people from different states. I believe in the best person for the job. This is what I mean, is that we have to be all for everybody. Everybody has to, if a president cannot run if he doesn't have an Awusa person next to him, or it's the other way around. And this simply needs to stop. The constitution doesn't help normal daily people. What about if somebody that's selling rice on the road cannot stand to be a councillor in Nigeria, can't stand to be a governor in Nigeria, because at the end of the day, the constitution states that you need to be part of a political party to run. This should be in the confab reform. Little things that can help people on a daily basis need to be in the confab
But the
report.
confab report actually looked at the issue of independent candidates, and it knocked it out.
And it did.
Yes.
Yes, it did look
Yes.
at it and knock it out. Yes, that's true too.
Political. But it's political. At the end of the day, if you're out to look out for the common person of Nigeria, you would look
Everybody
at,
should be able to stand for an election without actually being a member of
course.
any political party.
But you can't, because the people in power, the people that wrote this report, know what they were playing at. At the end of the day, and I wanted to raise Babangida, for instance, he contributed towards the report. But let's be honest with you, what happened to June the 12th? You have to look at these things as like, at the end of the day, if you're going to write a report that will benefit all Nigerians, at least you can do is have the decency to consult normal Nigerians, not the political elite.
It's a huge task.
It's a huge task.
It's a huge task today. It's impossible to consult every single Nigerian on this. And that's why Nigerians were taken from all geopolitical sector of the nation to actually write this report. Okay. The question is, we need to actually consider, if not all, but a substantial part of the confab report. And I think if we don't do that today, Nigeria being together as a nation will be a difficult argument to run.
Okay, now let's look at the current government, though in its...
To alleviate poverty, to provide water, to provide good roads, to make sure that there's enough food for the populace to eat. But yet, today, when they get there, we know that when they get to that position after the appointment, they would not do that. So
But there are some in that house that have been in that house since 1999 when Nigeria returned to full democracy, and they've been voted in.
Correct.
And they will still come back, and Nigeria will still vote for them, and then thereafter go back to complain.
It is one of the problems that we have. It is one of the problems that we have today. The problem that we have is those who voted back into power, and don't forget also, sometimes when you have election, you have rigging, massive rigging taking place. So sometimes it's not the individuals actually, the votes, the individuals that gets the person in the Senate to be there. It could be the fact that the election was rigged. But you find these individuals, they have the money, they have the influence, okay? They will go back to power. They will repeat the same thing they've done, which is to embezzle money. And look, I don't support. And I'm one of those people who would always argue that if I have my way today, I would probably look to get rid of all of them. But having said that, not all of them are corrupt. They're those actually who are there to look at for their own constituents and their state. And I mean, I think if you look at Ben Bruce, okay, he has always spoken out for his people. Now, I'm not saying there's corruption everywhere. There's corruption in the Western world. There is politics in the U.S. can be seen to be corrupt also. But at least, those who have been elected to represent their states go there to do that. And the
fear of their constituent is in them.
Exactly.
One of the problems the Obama Obamacare is having is the fear of what the outcome will be on the senators and on the congressmen
Exactly.
if they eventually repeal that, because the voters will take it out on them.
And this is why I was trying to say this to you. It's not necessarily the fact that the citizens that vote these people into power. Sometimes those elections are rigged. I have been on the ground at the last election in Nigeria when there were massive rigging, and it happens today.
Alexander.
For me, if I had to wait, if I could close the National Assembly tomorrow, I would. The fact is, I might sound a bit brutal, but it's got to a point where it's 2017, and again and again and again, the National Assembly keeps coming up. The National Assembly is a gravy train. Whether you like it or not, is a gravy train. When you're elected, you don't need to come back to your constituency. Many senators, many people, House of Reps don't even have constituency offices. They say they do, but they don't. Most of the people and it's, for me, I would feel very uncomfortable if I stood for a particular constituency in Nigeria, knowing that I've distributed rice to every single street in my constituency, and they voted for me because I distributed rice, but not on the policy that I'm standing on. And it's exactly the same issue. Senators in Nigeria have to be one of the only senators I know where they will put on their manifesto, we will build roads in your constituency. What power do senators have to make a campaign policy decision that we are going to build roads? Where is that money coming from for you to build roads? Just senators are no different from MPs in the country. You're there to take the concerns of your constituencies to the appropriate place in National Assembly. But you have some senators who are so confident that they can get 2 billion naira or dollars to go and pave the road, which is a good thing. If they fix the road, it's a good thing. But this goes back to the point about padding. Senators and the people in the National Assembly, they all know what's going on. They know where the money is. And for me, I find it disgraceful that there's a lot of Nigerians who really do care about the community, and they can't even stand for office because they don't have money, they're not part of the establishment, and the fact is that at the end of the day, people won't vote for them because they don't have money to give out, and it's poor. The National Assembly should change. I've always said we should have a parliamentary system, something very different, something where you can hold to account. People need to know in Nigeria, what is the role of a senator? What is the role of a House of Rep? People need to know, because the idea is that if they know, they can adequately challenge and adequately hold people to account. And look what's happened to Dino Malaya in Kogi State. It's exactly the same thing. You know, I had so much respect for him, and then it's got to a point where I've seen the stuff he's done, and I'm like, well, if I was his constituency, I would sign to call him back. And it's good that his constituency, political or not, that they are taking steps to say, hey, we put you there, we're going to take you out. And that's how it is.
As I count down to the program, what's the way forward? What do you think is the way forward for this? I mean, with all the problems enumerated, starting from the president's absence.
I think first we need...
Starting from with the president's
That's correct.
absence.
I think first of all, we do need to know. We need to know what is wrong with our president. We need to know whether he's fit to run the office of the presidency. If he's not, then the next step needs to be taken to put Nigeria back on track. In terms of the agitations with some sectors in Nigeria, I think there's need for that to be addressed.
And you recommend they look at
I think it's important that we should look at that. If they feel the confab report, I believe that it's important that they look at that and see what can be taken from there to at least deal with, if not all, but look at what can be taken from there to deal with the issue that we have been facing, not just presently facing. I think that's crucial. And I think, obviously, it's important that voters, individual Nigerians who vote people into office, should vote them for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons. Okay? I appreciate the fact there's a lot of poverty, and there are people who can afford 2-3 square meals a day in Nigeria. There's those who can even afford 1 square meal a day.
Alexander, yes, way forward?
Well, my way forward is the president of Nigeria needs to show up, needs to be accountable to the people that put him into office. The confab report should not be taken seriously. But instead, we should have a basic report that reflects the whole of Nigeria, a unified report, not something because, because I believe this is a political report, and I believe that unfortunately we need to have a unified report where it has everyone from constituencies involved in it, so we can get the best outcome. But also when it comes to the states, I've been a big supporter of even reducing 36 states. It's too much. We need to reduce it and also learn to be unified. Nigeria is a divided country. It's time for us to be unified.
Do you think how long can Nigeria continue to stand if the status quo is retained or maintained?
Nigeria is a country, we're not credible anymore, but we need to work together. We need to be unified to be credible. And if it takes 10, 20 years, then we need to get where we need to be.
All right.
I don't think we have that much time.
Okay. All right, gentlemen. Thanks a lot for joining us. Kingsley Oyemenem Esquire, solicitor barrister practicing here in Nigeria, UK, and US with offices in both regions. Thanks a lot for being part of
Thank you so
the program
much.
today. Alexander Kuya, political and security expert and former metropolitan officer. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Thanks for having me.
My name is Tunde Alabi. It's been a pleasure to have you join us on the program. Enjoy the rest of your